just a really quick video, hopefully, because we get asked a lot, basically, why on earth go all that way for an old Peugeot, as you can see from this really original 205, but not at all fancy, not a GTI. I mean, the easy question there would be, yes, the GTI costs about, even for a poor one, about 20 times what we spent on this one. Basically, if you've never driven an old car, and when I say old, I'm not even talking that old, in the last, let's say, 15 years, cars have gone off on a slight tangent, and obviously there's always been that movement for making them more comfortable, but it's trickled down, I think, just to every single car. So if you buy, let's say, one of my least favourite cars, the Skoda Fabia, it's absolutely fine. There is nothing you can complain about. All the pedals have the same feel. They feel like they've all got a biro spring, so each pedal feels like, you know, they've got everything nice and easy. It's just dull. I mean, there is no driver involvement in that car whatsoever. There's a few cars that you kind of just thought, I don't want to drive this anymore, and you get out because you can't be doing with it. And Jeff is the opposite of that to me. Obviously, I'm in here now. It's getting quite warm. Not of light. It's a light car, and it is light in the sense that it doesn't weigh much. It weighs about 800 kilos, give or take. Possibly light, possibly more. I'm not going to weigh it. And in recent years, modern cars, I think they've realised they've been getting a bit crazy with the weight. I'm sure I understand there's a lot of issues with crash protection, and obviously we've moved on way beyond Jeff for that sort of thing. But it takes out a lot of the fun, and there's still a lot of lighter cars being made, and they got a bit heavy, and they don't care so much about the fact that you're making a really heavy car, and it's just not nippy and nimble. And yeah, this is not going to win any awards for power. It's a fairly basic, smallish engine. It's a 1.1. It has about, I'm going to say less than 50 horsepower. But it uses it all. If you move around town, it's got low gears, so it's nippy through there. It revs like straight up and down again, because it's got a light flywheel. Everything about it just feels minimal. That the steering is instant. And you just find with that, the whole car feels a bit more alive. You know, you enjoy even moving it around town because it isn't a struggle. I mean, the difference, say, to other old cars, I mean, I've had a Mark 1 Punto, and on a manual car with no power steering, you think it's kind of ticking boxes, but it's about 5 turns lock to lock, and you spend your whole time turning the wheel around and around and around, and not getting anywhere. So really, I'm not in any way having a go at modern cars, and if you want, you know, a VXR or something, fine. They are really quick cars, but they don't have that involvement, and there are a lot of cars out there that are heralded as the greatest GTI, for example, you know, Golfs, and they don't interest me in the slightest. They're heavy, they're solidly built, fine, really, you know, usable cars, and they are every day. But they're not that kind of budget GTI, they're not the hot hatch now. They have ridiculous amounts of power for a hot hatch in the sense of like a 205. You can get base models of those cars with more power than a 205 GTI, but they don't have that fun, they don't have that involvement to them. And this is kind of where we are with this sort of car. It seems ridiculous to people. We're looking for one that has that basic feel. It's not going to be an out and out, you know, we're not going to start stripping it out and turning it into a racer. It's not going to be modified heavily. Maybe in the future there'll be little things. But the fact that it looks like it does, the fact that it's really basic, the 205 is a great little car all round. It isn't rusting or anything, so there's that side obviously to consider. I'm not saying all old cars, like I say the Mark 1 Punto, they're not all good. There's a few cars, I mean, I never want to drive a Corsa again. But the same with modern cars. You can absolutely have a car that does everything, but to me, they do everything but nothing particularly that makes me want the car. Sure, you can cruise on a motorway in a Renault Clio, you can drive it around B roads, but you don't have the involvement on the B roads and on the motorways. You start to get a bit like, you know, it hasn't got that supreme comfort of a, you know, a big car in that way, and it just, to me, it loses out on all those things. So each their own with all of these sorts of cars, and I know people think this is stupid but it is great, and I think it's the sort of car that, you know, if anyone ever says, oh, I'd love to drive it, I'm happy to do that, because I think that's the only way you can understand the difference. And it's almost scary in that field of like, so you've got glass everywhere and you can see out, it's not got thick pillars, which obviously makes you feel a bit like you're not protected, but it also means you've got everything you need just here, and everything is direct and instant. And I think that's something that you'll find you're kind of missing off modern cars. And you know, the other question, of course, if you're asking why Jeff, is Katie likes the name. She's good at naming cars, and Jeff somehow suits this one. So we're sticking with that.